So today, we're going to dive into a concept that is completely rewriting the rules of business strategy. It's called Agentic AI. And look, it's not just another buzzword. This is a fundamental shift in how work gets done. And, well, understanding it really isn't optional anymore. I want to kick things off with a pretty direct question, because the pace of change right now is just insane. Is your current AI strategy already obsolete? Seriously. If you're still thinking about AI as just a simple tool for handling one-off tasks, the answer might be a hard yes. So here's our roadmap for today. First, we're going to tackle a huge problem, the AI productivity gap. Then we'll get into the exciting part, the agentic AI revolution that's here to solve it. From there, I'll give you a strategic framework, we'll see it in action, and then we'll map out your next steps. And finally, we'll look ahead to our, well, increasingly autonomous future. All right. Let's start with the challenge that I know so many leaders and entrepreneurs are wrestling with right now, the AI productivity gap. You've got this massive gulf between the incredible promise of AI and the day-to-day reality of actually trying to get it to work. So why does this gap even exist? Well, it's because most of the AI tools we use today, even the really powerful ones, are still just assistants, you know? They need constant human prompting, step-by-step instructions. And this just creates a whole new layer of work, managing the AI, which ends up just shifting the bottleneck instead of actually getting rid of it. Okay, but this is where the story gets really, really interesting. There's a new class of AI emerging that's designed specifically to close that productivity gap. This, my friends, is the agentic AI revolution. So what exactly is agentic AI? Well, to put it simply, these are AI systems that don't just sit around waiting for your next command. You give them a goal, a big, complex, high-level objective, and they proactively figure out the strategy, they make a plan, and then they execute the entire workflow to make it happen. You got to think of them less as a tool and more like an autonomous digital teammate. And this comparison right here really nails the difference. Traditional AI is reactive. You say, write an email, and poof, it writes an email. Agentic AI is proactive. You say, launch our entire Q3 marketing campaign, and it orchestrates the whole thing. See the shift? We're moving from executing single commands to managing complete outcomes. It's a total game changer. But you know, a technology this powerful can't just be plugged in randomly. That's a recipe for chaos. It absolutely requires a deliberate, strategic approach. So let's walk through a framework for harnessing its potential effectively and, responsibly. Here's a super simple but really effective 4-step plan. First, you've got to identify those complex, repetitive, but high-value workflows in your business. Second, define crystal clear goals, and just as important, the constraints for the AI agent. Third, and this is key, start small. Run a pilot project to de-risk the whole process. And finally, measure the results, tweak your approach, and then you scale what's working. Okay, Siri is great at all, but let's make this real. Let's jump into a real-world scenario to see what this actually looks like when the rubber meets the road. So picture this. A marketing firm is totally under the gun. They've got a new product, a crazy tight deadline, and they need to launch a full campaign across a ton of different channels. This is like the perfect job for an AI agent. So instead of a project manager having to assign dozens and dozens of little tasks to people, a single goal is given to the agent. And get this, the agent then handles the entire workflow. It does the market research, it drafts all the copy, it schedules the posts, it monitors the analytics in real time, and it even spits out the final report with recommendations. That's the key right there, automating the whole outcome, not just the little tasks along the way. Okay, so hopefully you're starting to see the massive potential here. The next logical question is, all right, great, how do we actually get started? So let's break down some actionable next steps for you. And listen, you don't need a huge budget to get started. Just assemble a small, curious team. Get them to pick one process, something repetitive but high value, like maybe generating weekly customer reports. Then just experiment with an AI tool that's already out there to automate one key part of that process. Measure the time you saved or how much the quality improved, and use that hard data to build your business case for doing more. So, with that framework and those first steps in mind, let's zoom all the way out. Where is all of this heading? Because this is about way more than just efficiency. We're talking about building a fundamentally different, autonomous future for business. All right, let's recap the big takeaways here. First, that AI productivity gap, it's a real painful challenge, but agentic AI is the solution. Second, This whole thing represents a massive shift from AI as a simple tool to AI as a proactive partner. Third, you've got to have a strategic framework to succeed. And finally, and this is the most important part, the time to start messing around with this stuff is right now. If you take just one single thing away from this whole explainer, please let it be this. The paradigm has shifted. The new strategic goal isn't just about making individual tasks a little faster, it's about automating and optimizing entire business outcomes from start to finish. And I'm going to leave you with one final thought to chew on. We spend so much time and energy analyzing our human competitors. But what happens when your biggest competitor isn't another company at all, but a highly efficient, rapidly learning, autonomous agent that's operating at a scale and a speed that you simply can't match? Think about that.